Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope everyone's doing well. So I'm back today with another video, but maybe not with the one that you expected. So of course you know that I recently ran a contest for my 500 subscribers milestone. Thank you very much to everyone who entered. And I did actually attempt to record a response to that Q&A last week, but as it happens, a lot of the questions were very detailed, and that's a good thing, I don't mind answering those, but the video drew out for a very long time, even for my standards. So in addition to that, there were some formatting issues, and also I wasn't completely happy with the way it turned out, and on top of that, then some people submitted some entries later. So for that reason, the one I made last week, I've actually decided to scrap it and start over, but I won't be doing that today just because it's going to be very time consuming. So I promise that I still need to prepare answers for some late entries. So in the next video, I will definitely do the Q&A for my contest. But in today's video, I've decided to go ahead with a collection update. So these are some albums which I came by recently. So I thought in order to keep the channel going, I'm ready to talk about these. I'm going to talk about these today. And in the next video, I will do the contest entries response. Okay, so I hope that's all right. So what today's update is about, it's all about black metal, and it's very international. So 4 black metal albums to talk about, and they are all on vinyl. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so the first album that I picked up recently, this is Funeral Storm with Chthonic Invocations. I think Invocations, yeah. So you may have heard me talk about this band before. It's Hellenic Greek black metal, which was formed by Necroabyssius of Varathron, so one of the big hitters in Greek black metal. I think I previously pronounced his name as Necroabyssios because it sounds more Greek, but yeah, Necroabyssius, so the vocalist of Varathron and also of this band. And over the years, you've probably heard me talk about their excellent debut album, which is called Arcane Mysteries, and that actually has one of my favorite album artworks of all time. Yeah, so they've just come back with this one, which was released only this year, and it's excellent once again. So just to backtrack a little bit, the first album by Funeral Storm, it's sort of melodic, atmospheric black metal, as you would expect with a lot of Greek black metal. The difference with that album is it's very sort of slow to mid-paced and big and epic and grand sounding. Now this album is quite different on a number of levels actually, but actually really good, so I still like it a lot. But before we get into this, I'm just going to read you the hype sticker. And I have see the hype stickers here, I have my magnifying glass because I discovered recently I'm also long-sighted, so sorry about that. But it says here, okay, Funeral Storm, 600 blue and clear galaxy vinyl. Unleash the abyssal Funeral Storm's chthonic invocations burst forth. 666% black metal fury, fueled by death, lockdown, and Lovecraftian horror. Dive into the ancient past, where the 90s Greek legends return with the era-bending riffs, mystical synths, and vocals born from the abyss. Yeah, so that is just to give you some basic insight before I ramble on about the album. And I'll just take the plastic cover off now that I've talked about the hype sticker. So first of all, I love this album cover, like very striking, and I really like the use of colors. I think this is probably one of my favorite album artworks of all time. I can almost say that already. Yeah, but yeah, if you're familiar with Funeral Storm, this album might be a surprise actually, because the difference between this album and the first one is, in my opinion, it's a lot faster than the first album. So like I said, the first one was sort of slow to mid-pace and very big and grand and epic sounding. This one's going down a more traditional black metal route of fast and aggressive, but it's still very melodic and atmospheric. And what I've also noticed is that the vocals on this particular album, they're a lot more in the foreground and they're a lot more aggressive, and the drum sound is thunderous. So it's sort of combining aggression with melody, which is a fantastic thing. So the album kicks off with a foreboding piano intro, and much to your relief, I'm not going to do a detailed breakdown of all the tracks, but what I will say is this is just epic, majestic, atmospheric Greek black metal, where they do use synthesizers to lift the melodies, and they make the music sound very mystical, which is the characteristic of a lot of Greek black metal. But in addition to that, there's those you know, distinct trancey kind of melodies which are very typical of Greek black metal. In addition to just that, you know, what they call the Hellenic pulse, like the rhythm of the music, the way it plods along with the drums and everything. And on that note, actually what I like about this album is that there's a variety of tempos. So yes, it is a lot faster, but there are mid-pace sections, they have slow breakdowns, and with the slow breakdowns, there's a lot of like soaring synthesizers and, you know, this alchemy of guitar melodies going on, so it's very much in that traditional Hellenic vein. And there are also some interesting twists on this album, like with the, I think it was the first main track, because Whispers from the Beyond is the intro, but Behold the Dark, that actually, it's got a very Hellenic sounding riff, but it also sounds quite punky in some parts. And then the middle section is epic and grandiose with keyboards, and a slow melodic section, which sounds distinctly Greek, so it's still very Greek. And that's basically what you have for the rest of the album, like some just very catchy melodic riffs, some mystical synthesizers, and in addition to some other elements like some acoustic guitars and what sound like traditional Greek instruments. That's in the last track, The Calling of the Father. So sort of taking elements or aspects of Greek folk music, you could say, perhaps, or what, you know, music which sounds traditionally Greek to me anyway. But yeah, absolutely fantastic record. And I will say this, I've listened to this about 4 times now, and I admit at times it does sound a bit repetitive, like the songs are a bit interchangeable, but honestly it doesn't matter because the overall sound and atmosphere on this album is amazing. So you close your eyes and listen to this, it will teleport you to the mystical ancient Greek world. That's the vibe I'm getting from it. So absolutely excellent. So just showing you this here. This cover is just awesome. Like I said, I love the illustration and the use of color. We've got the tracks on the back there. And just show you the inside. Yep, so here we have a lyric sheet where all of the insert contains all of the lyrics, and they're nice and readable. All lyrics in English. No pictures of the band this time, but I think it is still Necroobicius and one other member. It says somewhere. And I'll show you the actual vinyl itself because it's very cool. Like they said, it's something like clear and galaxy vinyl, but it's kind of like a marbly, swirly type. But yeah, you can see here, translucent blue, nice labels with the pentagram. Yep, so that absolutely suits the character of this album. So yeah, what I like is a lot of people, sometimes when they enjoy a band, they expect them to release the same album again and again, but I think what's the point of that? So this is definitely a step in a new or progressive direction. They're not just making Arcane Mysteries Part 2, and in some senses it is a bit more, I don't know, traditional black metal, but yeah, it's fast melodic, it's mystical, it's majestic, and it takes you on an epic journey. So I just love it. Check out this album and their debut, which is entitled Arcane Mysteries. So that's Funeral Storm with Chthonic Invocations. Right. And as usual, I thought this video would be short. Like, I wasn't going into a lot of detail about the songs, but we're still a few minutes in, so sorry about that, just can't help it. All right, so up next, we have an album that I'm absolutely thrilled to get, or not an album, it's really a compilation of demos. This is a band, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I'm a huge fan, and I was thrilled about the fact that this was released on vinyl. I'm of course talking about Summon with Fire Turns Everything Black. So if you're not familiar, I did do a spotlight of this band, you know, in American Black Metal Gems Volume 1. I talked about this US black metal band Summon. They're from Lansing, Michigan, and, or actually not around anymore. They broke up in the early 2000s due to internal conflicts, but I just think they are truly an American black metal gem, so underrated and a brilliant band. This is my CD version of it, which I bought in 2001. Yeah. Just that's how I discovered them, through a fanzine actually. And you see here, Corpse Painted Trio. They later became a 4-piece and removed the makeup. But yes, looking at this album, now I have spoken about it in American Black Metal Gems, but I'm going to repeat myself today a little bit, and I'm sure some of you haven't seen it. What's interesting about this is it contains the Fire Turns Everything Black demo, in addition to the previous demo entitled Devourer of Souls. And I'll just read the hype sticker. By the way, this was released by Nuclear War Now, and of course Funeral Storm, that was released by Hell's Headbangers. So just starting off with the hype sticker here, it says, Black Death Metal, deathly evil early 90s black metal hailing from Lansing, Michigan. Someone was born from the same circle as Lucifer's Hammer, Masochist, and Wind of the Black Mountains. So some other well-known American black metal bands. And it says, this LP compiles their 1992 and 1995 demos, made in Italy. So Nuclear War Now, an Italian label, maybe? Sorry, I'm just gonna, the fan was making an annoying sound there. Yeah, so, Fire Turns Everything Black, that is the main demo on this, sort of like the main feature, and with good reason. So you see the cover art is very similar to the CD version, although it's more like in that negative form. Yeah, but I absolutely love this, especially this part of the artwork, very cool. Yep, so the way, if you've never heard Summon, and particularly this demo, which is Fire Turns Everything Black, it's an absolute masterpiece. I just love this. Like, it begins with the intro, Blind Shadows of Darkness, which is like a very dark synthy track with whispered vocals and an evil laugh before it just kicks into this explosive, high energy black death metal. Now, it doesn't sound exactly like these bands, but it's no wonder that I like Summon, especially this early demo. The way I would describe it, it reminds me of aspects of early Immortal, like Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism, especially with the vocals and some of the riff grooves and rhythms, and in addition to Marduk's Dark Endless. So as many of you know, Marduk and Immortal are two of my favorite bands, in my top 3 bands of all time, so no wonder I like this. The production on this, it's raw, like the drums sound has a good bite, but it's not overly raw, so you can still hear everything clearly, and it's just absolutely vicious, like incredibly fast and brutal, but at the same time, just some excellent riffs and melodies, just a really talented band. So it's that combination of aggression and melody. The drumming is going blasting, you know, at 100 miles an hour, but in a really good way. And they've got these, like I said, Immortal-esque kind of vocal patterns and grooves, which reel you in, which is absolutely fantastic. So after Blind Shadows of Darkness, we have Enter Into Eternal Oath, which really just sets the tone, especially with the aggressive drumming and blistering guitar solos in that song, which are absolutely fantastic. Probably one of my favorite tracks on this album is Eve of Anti-Creation, just because it's incredibly aggressive and there's some memorable vocal patterns and lyrics in that, especially Destruction of God's Holy Empire as fire turns everything black. And that line, if you know the groove in that song, like, it sounds crude when I say it, but when you hear the groove and the way it's pronounced, it's awesome. And that line in that song is Satan masturbates upon the throne of God. I'm almost tempted to sing the vocal pattern, but I won't make a fool of myself, but fantastic. And then you have Praising to a Blackened Moon, great title. That track starts with a crackling fire in the background to really set that kind of dark atmosphere, which is fantastic. And probably my favorite song on this demo is Burning Black Desire, and probably my favorite Summon song of all time. Again, just so memorable, so catchy, a real sort of sing-along black metal song, I would say. And again, those Immortal-esque vocal patterns and grooves, so absolutely fantastic. But it's really not just the rhythms and the vocal patterns, it's also the guitars and the melodies combined with the aggression. It's just absolutely brilliant. Then we have Tales of Immortality, which is like a fast kind of track with those yearning kind of melancholic riffs to round off the album. And then the demo, and then it concludes with Outro Forest of Dark Spirits, which is appropriately spooky and haunting. Like, you can hear creatures of the night, you know, like owls, and there's wolves howling and everything. Just the absolutely perfect demo. So yeah, my favorite songs on this demo are probably Eve of Anti-Creation and Burning Black Desire, but the whole demo is fantastic, including intro and outro, so a cohesive package there. Now, then you'll see on side B we have their other demo, Devourer of Souls from 1992, and I'd never heard this before. It's very different to Fire Turns Everything Black. Like, you can see the marked improvement from the first demo. So this one, Devourer of Souls, it has 6 tracks. Being completely honest with you, this was the earliest demo. You can see this was a band finding their feet, because this Devourer of Souls demo on side B, it doesn't do a hell of a lot for me, to be honest. Like, it sounds very extreme, it sounds very chaotic, but the problem is there's not a lot of memorable songs in there, in my opinion. But in the good news, it reminds me of aspects of early Beherit, particularly the Oath of Black Blood, and also early Amon, or Amon, however you say it, you know, the pre-Deicide band. So if you like those particular releases, it's like a combo of those. So, you know, very fast, very chaotic, maybe a little bit like Bestial Warlust in terms of the chaotic sense, but it's impressive, but it's extreme, but it's just not that memorable. So Devourer of Souls, for me, it's not essential, but of course it's great as a collector's item for a huge fan of the band like myself. But yeah, the highlight is definitely side A, which is the Fire Turns Everything Black demo, which is the highlight of this album. So just showing you the front cover there, very cool. They don't have the traditional Summon logo, I don't know why. And I think, yeah, the Summon logo is cool. And appropriately evil image on the back there. And just show you the inside. So very cool that it preserves the history of the band. So you see pictures of the band on the back, all adorned in corpse paint and breathing fire in the forest. And these are on the CD version, but I've never seen these group photos here, but that's very cool. Yeah, so it was a three-piece at this time. So Zaphon, Necromodius, and Amduskius. So I think it was Zaphon and Necromodius were the two main members of the band, and then they ended up fighting, which is why they stopped. And more cool photos in the background. So you see these pictures. Band is corpse painted out in the forest breathing fire. You know it's cool. And again, you know, appealing to fans of early Marduk, early Immortal, in my opinion. So absolutely nothing to complain about there. All right, and I'm gonna mess with that later. This thing about the fan, it's very annoying. And just show you the vinyl itself. Comes on this ultra cool marbleized green vinyl, so it's matching the cover. And I think actually they use this color for their debut full-length Dark Descent of Fallen Souls, which is also awesome. So yep, just green labels there, marbleized kind of swirly one. But yeah, I cannot complain about any aspect of this particular release. And like I said, being a huge fan of this band, I'm just absolutely thrilled to finally get hold of it on vinyl. My friend in Thailand, he actually, who I buy music off sometimes, he actually years ago advertised Dark Descent of Fallen Souls on vinyl, and I snoozed on that, so I'm going to see if I can perhaps get that one as well. But really with Summon, you can't go wrong. Like, all of their albums were cool. They went from being like a purist black metal band to combining, or even though it had like kind of death metal influences, much like Marduk's Dark Endless, but then with their last album, Fallen, they sort of combined black death and thrash metal with really interesting results. But this is where it all began, and it's undoubtedly my favorite Summon release. So that is Summon with Dark Descent of Fallen Souls. And as I said, I bought this through my Thai friend Preacher, but you can get this through Nuclear War Now Records. That's what it was released on. So yeah, very cool. All right, so coming up next, returning to Greece. This is a classic album that many of you may be familiar with. This is Varathron with Walpurgisnacht. So Greek band, but German title there, referring to the, what is it, the pagan festival in April of every year. So like Enthroned had a song called Walpurgisnacht as well, and that's interesting how it ties in with this album. So yes, as I've mentioned before, Varathron, heavyweights of Greek black metal, probably one of the biggest names alongside Rotting Christ and Necromantia. Absolutely fantastic, and this is from 1993, so I've sort of been slow to pick up Varathron, but the more I get into Hellenic black metal, the more I want to discover these albums, especially the earlier ones by these bands. I've got a few Varathron albums now, but I'll just read the hype sticker for you. It says, Varathron Walpurgisnacht, Hellenic black metal. Varathron's legendary second album is summoned from the shadows for a new dark age. And again, this was released on Nuclear War Now, so it's a reissue. All right, so just showing you the cover art here. Very cool. And a disclaimer, I'm sure most people won't mind, but there is some nudity on this cover. So that's appropriately satanic, or satanic, however you say it. Yes, but yes, Varathron, so being a Greek black metal band, you would expect them to have a typical Greek sound, and they certainly do. But what I like about this particular album is it's not a typically Hellenic black metal album, as in, there's not those Greek melodies going all the time. Like, this one's actually quite fast and aggressive, and there are a lot of blast beats, and what I like is the fact that the drums have that kind of harsh bite to them, and they're very aggressive. So there are some very fast songs on this. It's not all just like melodies that some people would describe as just happy melodies. You know, some people describe Greek black metal as sounding happy, but I don't think that's the case. It's more just like epic and grandiose. But anyway, this has some very aggressive, fast parts. but certainly they do have those moments where you just hear the riff and you say, undoubtedly this is a Greek band, like particularly in that song, I think, is it Cassiopeia's Ode? Because I'm not sure if actually the first one, Tleaxu, the Unborn Child, like just when they launch into this mid-paced riff, it sounds so incredibly Greek, it's unbelievable, like in a good way. It conjures images of the mystical ancient Greek world, the world of Greek mythology, which I'm really interested in, so I just love it. So it is very Greek, but in other senses it's not. Like I think maybe it was on the second track, Cassiopeia's Ode, but the use of keyboards reminds me a bit of Enthrone's Prophecies of Pagan Fire album, which is of course excellent, but of course this album came before it, so maybe this inspired Enthroned to a degree. But yeah, absolutely great. So it's that combination of fast, aggressive black metal mixed with those Hellenic melodies. And in addition to that, there's a lot of interesting elements going on, like they use the mystical keyboards to make it sound atmospheric. There are acoustic guitars, and this actually features a lot of interludes, you could say, like just instrumental tracks with just pianos or just acoustic guitars or something like that, but it all sets the atmosphere in between these huge epic tracks because the actual songs are massive. Yeah, like side B has a lot of interludes like Regium Saturnia Regna, but probably my favorite song on the album, even though the whole thing is great, is track 3 on side B, which is Under the Sight of Horus, which in the beginning, the music has a distinctly Middle Eastern, Egyptian atmosphere. So absolutely fantastic. So this was being done way before Nile, even though I like Nile as well. But that's a great thing about this band and Greek black metal in general. It just creates this mystical atmosphere, which is unmatched. It's just absolutely awesome. So yeah, no complaints about this album whatsoever. I've already listened to it about 4 times and really enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to listening to this again and again. And this is an album where at times when I listen to it, I just laugh to myself thinking, oh, how do they do it? How do they create such a wonderful atmosphere? So definitely check it out if you like those epic atmospheres. So here's the cover, back, and all the song titles. And just show you the inside. All right, so insert first, perhaps. Yep, so on the inside, you have all of the lyrics here, which are nice and readable. And this is a band where actually the lyrics match the vocals, so you can actually follow along, unlike some bands I won't mention where they seem irreconcilable. But anyway, here is a picture of the band on the back. So Necroabysseus on the left. And who else have we got? Pioponos and Adrastos. And these guys, it's very amusing. They look like very straight conservative guys, like short hair, button-up shirts and everything, but the music they create is absolutely phenomenal. But like I said, it was like on the second track when I was listening to it the other night, I pictured myself like being like Icarus or something flying over the Icarian Sea. Yeah, that's how brilliant this is. But yep, cool picture of the guys standing in the forest. So yeah, Necroabysseus does vocals, and Pyrphonos does electric and acoustic guitars and bass, and Adrastios synths and piano. So it's got it all of those interesting elements there. And just showing you the vinyl itself because it's an interesting one. Again, it's this kind of swirl vinyl, like gold and blue, and appropriate color since it's Greek black metal with that kind of light blue, which they use on their flag. By the way, I think Greece has one of the best flags in the world. Yeah, so absolutely awesome stuff. So like I said, it is Greek black metal, but not overly melodic, but it is melodic, if that makes sense. But there's also like just so many interesting elements going on, like it's fast and aggressive, but there's also interludes, there's pianos, there's synths, acoustic guitars, absolutely awesome, whispered vocals. You know, one of those ones that just takes you on an epic journey, so I absolutely love this, and I'm not gonna put that in now because the fan's pissing me off. But yes, classic album from Varathron with Walpurgisnacht. God, I can't believe that. See, I didn't have the cover title to prompt me. Oh dear. But yeah, excellent album. Check it out. Right, and coming up to the last album of the day, the last one in this video. This is something that I've been waiting to get my hands on for a long time. Glad I finally did. This is Vargrav with The Nighthold. So yes, I've heard a lot of people talking about this band on YouTube over the years, and same with me actually, even though I've never shown an album in detail. But This is the new one that's come out, and a lot of people have spoken about this. If you're not familiar, Vargrav are a Finnish black metal band, and essentially, at least what it was in the beginning, was emperor worship. So very atmospheric, synth-drowned black metal, very epic, very symphonic sounding in a lot of parts. And yeah, that was essentially the mission statement of this band, to sound like Emperor, particularly in my opinion, when you listen to the first couple of albums, like Netherstorm and Reign in Supreme Darkness. The sound is very much like Emperor's In the Nightside Eclipse. That's the main emphasis, which is good because that's my favorite album by them, in addition to aspects of anthems and tinges of reverence. So yeah, but absolutely brilliant band. And this album is very interesting how they've come back, because it used to be a one-man project, and that was V. Kauzed. So he did all of the instruments and the vocals, but as you can see on the back here, on this album it's become a four-piece, so he's recruited some members. On this album he only plays synths, which is interesting. It shows what an important aspect of Vargrav's sound they are. But he's recruited 3 other prominent black metal musicians, and on vocals, who needs no introduction, is Werewolf. So Werewolf, and that's no surprise, this was released on Werewolf Records. So Werewolf, of course, of Satanic War Master and The True Werewolf, and loads of other bands, used to be in Horner and stuff. But you know what's really surprising about this is, when I shared it on Instagram the other day, people didn't complain as such, but I was surprised to hear a lot of people criticizing this album, saying, oh, you know, I was sitting on the fence about this, or I didn't really get into this one. And my reaction was honestly, what? Because, I'll just cut a long story short, I think this is the best album they've ever done. But most people disagree with me. A lot of people said that this album lost the true Vargrav character, and he was branching out into doing something different. But can I just say, the difference between this album and those previous ones, the first 2 were very much typical Emperor worship. Like, not exactly an Emperor clone, but it was following Emperor very closely. Whereas I think on this album, they've introduced some new elements, and it's sort of branched out beyond pure Emperor worship and become something of its own. Yes, I'll go into more detail about that in a moment. But yes, long story short, it's my favorite Vargrav album to date. Yeah, so what do you have on this album? Like I said, it's synth-drenched symphonic black metal, which is very atmospheric, very epic, very majestic, very powerful, absolutely brilliant. But what I like is the keyboard sound has developed on this album. So in many ways, the keyboard sound is not just like Emperor, but it also reminds me very much of the keyboard tone of Dimmu Borgir, particularly on the album Enthroned Darkness Triumphant. And I know a lot of people say, oh, Dimmu Borgir, sellout band and everything. I've never believed that. Like, while I'm not the world's biggest Dimmu Borgir fan, I do like a lot of their material. You can't deny that they have great atmospheric songs. So, and Enthroned Darkness Triumphant was one of the really good early albums. So it's got an Emperor vibe, but also branching out a little bit into Dimmu Borgir territory in terms of the synth sound. But in addition to that, just like he uses so many synth effects on this album that it sounds absolutely spellbinding and enchanting. Like I described this on Instagram, it's like the almost like the soundtrack to a dark fantasy fairy tale. Like there's moments where you picture being out in the forest and spells whirling all around. It really just sets a fantastic, enchanting atmosphere, which I really like. So the keyboard sound has developed massively, but then you also just have those songs where they're just so incredibly powerful, you know, with the synthesizers. And so if you love early Emperor, you're going to really enjoy this. Trust me, it's a great listen. Now, there were people who criticized the album. Do I have any criticisms? Not really. I will just say, this one came on a double vinyl. I don't like double vinyl, like single is better, so you only have to turn it once, but anyway, not a big deal. But just at the beginning of side C, there's an ambient track called Into the Shadow Crypts, and that's a bit of a snooze fest. It's minimalist ambient, so I don't see the point of that. But apart from that, the album is excellent. So some of my favorite songs on this, I would have to say, would be the first main track, which is Through the Woods of Breathing Shadows. Like the breakdown with the synthesizers in that is so Emperor in the Nightside Eclipse-esque. It's brilliant. And I also really like Thy Imperial Malice. That's got so many atmospheric moments and twists and turns, so it's absolutely brilliant. And probably my favorite song on the album is the first song on side B, which is Curse of the Plague Wood. Again, some very powerful synthesizers in that, but then they have this very impassioned spoken word section where I'm assuming it's Werewolf does a fantastic impersonation of Ishan from Emperor, where it's like really passionate spoken word in addition to all these you know, heavy riffs and melodies going in the background and powerful synthesizers, but it's that really grandiose way of speaking, like, oh, night sky, you know, just like Ishan, but it's done in a really over-the-top way. You can't help but be moved by that song, so that's probably my favorite one, Curse of the Plague Wood, but the whole album is absolutely excellent. Yeah, so there's also, to show how the band's expanded with their repertoire, the last song on side C, Creator of the True Realm, that shows the band's progressive elements and how they're branching out a bit, because that features a female spoken word section with some atmosphere, in addition to this really bluesy, spacey guitar solo. So not what you would typically expect from a symphonic black metal band, but that's what I like. This band is branching out while retaining their original Emperor-esque sound. Now, a lot of people complained about the last track, which is entitled Ghostlands, which is a long, dark ambient track. For me, I like dark ambient, so I don't have a problem with it, really. Like I said, that other ambient track, Into the Shadow Crypts, that's a snooze fest just because it's minimalist ambient. You know, a bit like some of those early Burzum ambient tracks. But this one, Ghostlands, it takes you on an epic journey, and it's really dark and foreboding and haunting. It reminds me a lot of Suka Gogoi, which I've mentioned is the one female dark ambient black metal project from the UK. So if you like Suka Gogoi, you'll definitely like this track. But it also gets very spacey in some parts. Like it sounds like you're in outer space. It's got that extraterrestrial sound. And I'm reminded more than once of Neptune Towers, which is of course the eerie dark ambient project of Fenris. So yeah, if you like Suka Gogoi and Neptune Towers, you'll love that track Ghostlands. But it sounds almost intergalactic and spacey, and I love that because I'm fascinated by outer space and what a dark, eerie place it is. So it really captures that in addition to that atmosphere of haunted woods. But yeah, I've gone on enough about it, but this is absolutely awesome. Now, because it's on double vinyl, I kept it in the plastic to hold it all together. Okay, so here's the front cover. So picture of a dragon, so a bit like Smaug, or Smaug, how do you say it, in The Hobbit? But yeah, I would say this is like sort of, not just in terms of lyrics, but the music, it's fantasy black metal, but not in a gimmicky or cheesy way. Like, as I said, if you love Emperor, you'll really enjoy this. Interesting that the portrayal of the band members is set out very much like that of the band members in Emperor's Nightside Eclipse album, and I think that was no coincidence. It's probably a tribute. Now I'll just show you the inside here. So it comes on this beautiful gatefold with all of the lyrics clearly printed there and a picture of the band. Yep, so where is it? Yeah, Carl Zed, he's the one leading, so he's the mastermind behind the project, but then you see all the other new members as well. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, a lot of people complained about this album, sorry. And now I will just show you the vinyl. So it comes on double vinyl. I'll just show you one, that will suffice. So it's on this marbleized kind of crimson, deep purple, which is cool, sort of matching the cover out there, which is excellent. And yeah, it's double. Like I said, I don't see the need for double vinyl because it means turning the record over twice as much and it's a heavier weight, but oh well, not a big deal. But yeah, like I said, this is an absolutely fantastic album. I don't understand why people complain about it, but some people like to keep the original status of a band, I suppose. But like I said, I think this is retaining elements of the old, but it's branching out into something new. And I think it's easily their crowning glory, yeah, for Vargrav. So I'm really interested to see what this band does next, and I think they're absolutely on fire. So if you like atmospheric black metal, be sure to check this out, definitely. This is Vargrav with the Nighthold. All right, so that's it, guys. I assumed that this video would go for about 20 minutes, but to be expected, I always go on longer than I think I will, so sorry about that, but I can't help it when I really get into the music. So I hope you enjoyed the update. Like I said, sorry about the delay with my contest Q&A, but there were some hiccups. But I hope you enjoyed today's video, and in the next video, I'm going to do my answers to that Q&A, which will have to be divided into two videos because some people's questions were very detailed. So I'll shut up now. Thanks a lot for your support of the channel, and thank you for watching, and I'll be back again soon with my answers to your questions. In the meantime, take care. Cheers.